What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? We're back with another episode of One-on-One with Jeff Allen and Mike DeVito. Mike will be back soon, so right now it's just me, myself, and I. Before we get into it, this show is brought to you in part by Cookie Society. Yes, Cookie Society, a.k.a. Cookie Cartel. It's our birthday month. We just celebrated, our birthday yesterday on April 18th. It happened to be the first day of OTAs as well. So it's a huge celebration for us. We gave away free cookies, cookie cake, all type of merchandise. We also have a discount code called Happy B-Day, promo code Happy B-Day. Go to cookieside.com for 18% off. Have a ton of fun flavors as we transition in May into our second retail store. There'll be a lot more things coming. This is the KCSN Sports Network show. Let's jump right into it. We're going to talk about OTAs. We're going to talk about the draft since we're about 9 days away from that. I thought I'd start the show off with a little bit of education. We'll talk about OTAs and exactly what OTAs are. It's organized team activities. Started yesterday for us. We're in phase one. We got the report out of, Kansas City saying Patrick Mahomes elected to take the skill position guys and keep them in Texas during phase one, which I think is an advantage, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But let's go phase one and talk about how that goes. So phase one is for 2 weeks. It's 4 hours a day, and it's basically a strength and conditioning. It's you getting reacclimated, getting used to getting back into the building. There's not much going on. It's just for you to get your feet wet. There are rules in place for a reason. The league is kind of tapering things off so guys can stay healthy throughout the long, gruesome season. So we got 90 minutes max on the field. It's called dead ball, which means receivers and quarterbacks are only able to throw to each other on air. There will be no defense involved. There is no contact. There's no tackling. You cannot even touch a guy with a finger. It's for that way for a reason, non-contact, so guys can stay healthy. I think it's an advantage, phase one being outside of the building, off-site, with what Patrick is doing. I think that's an advantage because he's able to do some things that he wouldn't be able to do in the building because of league mandates and rules that are in place. But those rules do not apply in Texas. So I know Pat is out there with those new guys doing some things that he wouldn't be able to do in Kansas City, which is making the team better. Transition to phase two, which they'll probably be back for. It's the exact same as phase one. The difference is coaches can now be on the field with the players. So now they'll come together collectively, O-line, receivers, tight ends, running backs, and they'll do the same thing, running plays on air versus no defense, no contact. On the opposite side of the ball, defense will be running their schemes, going over their playbook, no offense involved, no contact. That's the theme of OTAs, no contact. Then you get into phase three. Phase three is for 4 weeks, 6 hours a day, 3 weeks of practices. So you have 10 OTAs. Now, when we talk about OTAs, these are voluntary. Guys are not sorry, my phone's ringing, are not obligated to come to these things. These are fully voluntary, but the good teams have good participation. Kansas City over time they usually have everyone come. There's only a few guys that miss here and there, but for the most part, they have full participation, which is good, which is why they've been to the playoffs every season, which is why they've gone to so many AFC championship games and, 3 Super Bowl appearances. We'll talk about after phase three, you go into mini camp. Now that's when, there's some contact involved. There's no pads, but you have these things called spiders. They're basically shells. They're the step right before you get to pads, and guys are going full speed. No tackling, of course, but they're going full speed, active, going against the defense, and they're getting good reps. That's usually after rookie minicap. So we implement the rookies in, and they're getting the rust knocked off and getting some work in before training camp. But that's OTAs in a nutshell. Happy to hear what Patrick's doing right now in phase one. Looking forward to see what they do during this entire offseason. And that's going to segment us right into the draft. What are the needs? Obviously, everyone's talking about wide receiver after the departure of Tyreek Hill. I think, of course, the offense isn't going to be the same. We're going to miss him. But let's not forget we have the best quarterback in the world. We have Andy Reid, one of the best offensive minds, if not the best offensive mind in NFL history. I don't remember a year where he's had an offense outside of the top 10. So I expect for the offense to come out and still do their thing. It's going to look way different, but I do expect them to have success, and fully looking forward to that. I would like to see them draft a receiver, but that's just me as an offensive guy wanting to get as many weapons as possible. But I don't think that's our number one priority. It's not our number one need. I'm thinking defensive end because we lack pass rush outside of Chris Jones. We saw Frank Clark come on at the end of the year as he got healthy, but it's always good to have good pass rush because that fixes everything on the defensive side of the ball, especially when you have a secondary that's young or with guys who haven't gotten a ton of reps, which we're probably looking at right now. We got some guys, on the outside besides Snead that need some reps that haven't gotten them throughout their career. So, which leads me to our next need, cornerback. I think we should draft a cornerback. I like the kid out of Clemson, Andrew Booth. He's a really good guy. Kid out of Washington, I think his name is Kyler Gordon. Not sure. I hope I got that name right. Look it up for me. But he's a really good corner. Historically, Washington has really good corners, and he's a ball hawk. So looking for somebody that can create turnovers, that can get our defense off the field and get the ball back into our offense's hands because we got one of the best. That's all I got to say about that. My ultimate dream draft pick is, I'm going to say, Jameson Williams out of Bama. I would love for us to be able to package up some of those picks. We got 12 right now and move on up in the draft and probably snag a guy like that. Or let's talk about our priorities. Get a defensive end, a pass rusher. Let's transition right into the questions. Y'all got any questions, drop them down below. I'm going to read them out loud. I'm going to answer them to the best of my ability. Grayson Jasper, what was different from Houston OTAs and KC? There was not really a difference. I think there was not as much participation as far as guys. There were more guys in Houston that didn't show up during OTAs because it's voluntary. Outside of that, the schedule is the same. There's no contact. There's very little you can do football-wise. But you're together, you're meeting, in the meeting room, and you're getting lifts and runs in as you ramp up for training camp. What right tackle should the Chiefs draft? That's a great question. I don't know. I think obviously they're going to draft somebody on the offensive line. They need a young guy, that can come in and play a multitude of positions. I think they got some guys in house. Like I said, Andrew Wiley, I think will start out the gate. I do think Lucas Nang still has a future in this league if he can get healthy. So we'll see what they do on the offensive side of the ball. Do you go to OTAs? Yes. I'm into OTAs my entire career. I think it was just good to get back to football. For some guys, they have their routine where they stay away and they spend time with family, which I think is important as well. And they have their trainers outside. But for me and what I was doing and being an offensive lineman, the continuity you have to build as a group, I just think it was best, for me to be on site. Same goes for quarterbacks and receivers and whatnot. Now there's positions like defensive end and, corner where these guys are just special. They're one-on-one most of the time, so they work on their skill set individually. Rank Jameson, London, Olivier, and who would be best for KC? I'm going Jameson number 1, Olivier number 2, London 3. I think they're all really special. This receiver draft is stacked. You can't go wrong with any of them. I do think Williams, granted that he's fully healthy, would be the best fit just because the speed element and what he brings. He could be an added dimension to the offense, and with losing Tyreek and that speed, he could help, clear some of those safeties out with his speed. I like Olivier personally. He's just a natural route runner, finds a way to get open. Seems like a really smart player, knows the game, figures out how to sit in the zones and when to move around. So I think he would be good in the slot for us. So London's also physically, I think he has a lot of potential as well. So like I said, you can't go wrong, but my number 1 guy is Williams. We got a little question over here. What are your favorites? What's your favorite story from OTA/preseason workouts? Ooh, that's a really good question. One of my favorite things about OTAs is, like I said, is just getting together and getting back in the building and seeing your guys again. The off season, depending on when it ends, it's no matter when it ends, it seems so long. I mean, you go 2-3 weeks and you're like, I want to get back to it. So, when you get back, everyone's excited, eager. I think one of my favorite parts is just, the pranks that we play. I remember, all the things that Dustin Coco used to do. I remember, I can't talk about it, but this guy used to go into everyone's meeting room and draw inappropriate pictures on the whiteboards. And that's the first thing that you see the first day of OTAs is, a naked person on the whiteboard. So I do miss the pranks. I think that was fun, lighthearted, and good jokes. Are we overblowing our need for right tackle? I still believe in that. Yes, we're overblowing it. The offensive line played great last year, even with Nang out. While he was in there, they played great. I think Andrew Wiley is who he is. He's a dependable guy. He's a guy that he can hold his own and can make this offense, go in the right direction. So we're definitely overblowing this. No need to be alarmed. This offensive line is great. How was Shark Tank / Mark Cuban? That was awesome. That was one of those things that was unexpected. We got an email. I thought they were phishing. That was a scam from a third-party company that was working with ESPN and Disney, and they were doing this initiative with ESPN, and ended up choosing us as one of the 3 businesses. So it was awesome being here locally in Dallas, getting to virtually meet them, being able to reach out to them to this day. It's really a good mentorship, and I'm thankful for it. Jeff, do you think the O-line as currently built is more of a running line or passing line? It is a multi-dimensional line. This line can do anything. I do think their strength is running the ball, but they're just as efficient passing. They're road graders. They're physically dominating. They're physically dominating in the passing game. I mean, you see Trey Smith, you see Creed taking shots, when they're uncovered. So these guys can do whatever, whenever. I do think we should run the ball a little bit more, some more call it and run it, just so they could be more physical and impose their wills. Everyone talks about all the picks that the Chiefs have right now. We're sitting with 12, which is ridiculous. It's ludicrous. We're obviously not going to use all 12 picks in the draft because it wouldn't be very smart to draft 12 rookies knowing you're not going to keep half of them. So I think they're going to package some of these up, and whether it be make a trade for a veteran guy or whether it be they move up in the draft. I have a feeling that Veach is on the phone right now trying to figure out a way to move up in the draft. It's 9 days away. But if he can't get that done, he's going to trade for a veteran guy with some of these picks because you can't use them all in the draft. Reason I'm asking is because I think the Chiefs should run more. Yeah, that was a great question. I do think the Chiefs should run the ball a little bit more. That's one of the critiques that Andy Reid gets, from time to time. But he does well. You can't critique a guy when he constantly has a top 10 offense, when he puts up stats and he breaks records offensively. But as an offensive lineman, that's just what we like. We like to run the ball. We like to get after guys. Plus, it makes our job easier, when they're trying to rush the passer. When do we get a cookie society in Kansas City? We're actually working on that, honestly. We got a little thing going on here in Dallas. We got our second store opening in about 3 weeks. It's just honestly, we're just waiting on the timing. It's not the easiest time right now to open a business with the supply chain issues and all the long lead times when you're ordering equipment and the build out cost. So it's really expensive to do things right now. But even with all of that, we still want to make that happen somehow, and we're going to make that happen. Do you guys make vegan or keto friendly cookies? We do not make keto friendly cookies, but we're currently working on a vegan cookie. We're looking to launch that pretty soon, so be on the lookout. It's going to be online only when we do launch it. So lucky you, will be shipping those to Kansas City and all over the country. Thoughts on AJ Brown and his potential fit with KC? I love AJ Brown. I think he's really physically dominating. One of the young guns in the league, one of the best young talents. I think he would fit well in Kansas City. Not only is physical, we're getting the ball and running after the catch. He's physical and blocking. He would bring another weapon to the offense, another added layer. I don't know if we'll trade for him. I'm reluctant to say we're going to trade for a receiver, especially giving away picks to go and pay a guy top dollar when we did let go of Tyreek Hill. And I know A.J. Brown's looking for a Tyreek Hill type contract, but you never know. As an O-line, what do you think about RPOs? Does it make it tough on the O-line? For us, RPOs, we block the run. So for us, we don't know whether they're running or passing. We automatically assume that the ball is being handed off. So our job is to treat it as a run. If the quarterback decides to pass it, we're just as surprised. So we're blocking for the run. See if we got any more questions. Favorite Patrick Mahomes story. All right, so I want to say this was Patrick's second year. It was his MVP season. Yeah. We were playing in Oakland, and we get to the huddle. It was after an interaction with a defensive back. Pat, threw an errant pass, and the DB was talking crap to him. And Pat's yelling at the guy. I'm not going to say exactly what he said, but Pat's a cold-hearted assassin. Like he wanted to go after the guy. So he told the guy, I'm coming right at you. We go to the huddle, call a play. Next play, we throw a bomb to McCole Hardman. It ended up coming back because there was I think there was a holding call. But the fact that he had the guts to go after that guy the very next play and torch him for a 60-yard touchdown was unbelievable. And by the way, that it wasn't holding on that play. It was a bad call by the ref, but it didn't count. I wish it did. Toughest guy that I've faced in my football career is Aaron Donald, hands down. It's something about that guy. For me, I'm a bigger guy, so I've always had trouble with smaller defensive linemen just because of the leverage that they have naturally. But with him, what made him different from smaller guys that I've always faced is, with those smaller guys, you can kind of sit on them and let them try to bull rush you. You can control them. But with this guy, he could beat you with speed. He could beat you with power. Extremely smart. And to add on to all of that, he had a motor out of this world. So the first play felt like the last play. This guy was like the Energizer Bunny nonstop. So he's just a unique player. I don't think we'll ever see a guy like that again. Just like any other greats, he is who he is. I think he's personally the best defensive tackle ever, but time will tell. Should the Chiefs focus more on offense or defense in the early rounds? I'm going to say defense. I think offensively, we're in a good spot. We have a really good O-line. We have the best quarterback in the league. We got Travis Kelce. We got two great running backs. We got a host of weapons that we just brought in. So, of course, the offense is going to look different, but I think they got the guys on paper to put together a good offense and have one of the top in the league. Defensively, I think we need to do some work on the pass rush. Like I said, pass rush makes everything better. There's still some guys out there. Maybe we get Melvin Ingram later in the year. He's probably a guy that's going to sit out, probably come right before the season starts, late in training camp, just because he's older and he's probably not getting the offers that he wants. We need a corner. Maybe we go get that in the draft. I was hoping for Gilmore. We lost out on him. So I think there's still potential to get something done. Maybe there's a trade that we're not thinking about. But defensively, there needs to be some things filled in order for us to have a good defense. Just want to say thank you for your time in KC and appreciate the fact you remain a Chief fan. What is your favorite memory from being in KC? My favorite memory was winning our first playoff game. And I don't remember exactly how long, but it was a long time. I just remember the year before us. I hate to bring it up, but we lost to Indy in horrendous fashion. I had a 28-point lead, and I just remember feeling like crap after that season. And we went to the next year, and we learned from it, we built on it, and made it to the playoffs again. We played Houston, and we got a win, and that felt like the Super Bowl at the moment. I know we won one later on down the line, but just to get that monkey off our back and do that for the city and how excited everyone was and how happy everyone felt after that moment, it was just an awesome memory for me. And also the Super Bowl was pretty cool too. But that moment in time, there was a lot of chatter throughout the city. If, Andy Reid was the right guy, if the Chiefs would win a playoff game, if Alex Smith was the quarterback, like you can't win with him, all these different negative things about us. And we figured out a way to win a playoff game that year. That was pretty awesome. If you could play any other position, what position would you choose? Oh, man, everybody wants to be a quarterback. But for me, I always wanted to play D-line. Most offensive linemen were D-linemen at one point. But we reached that crossroads where, coach says, hey, you're not athletic enough to play D-line, so you should probably try O-line. NBA championship picks. I'm liking Golden State out the West, and I'm going to go dark horse. I really want to see Brooklyn make it out. I think, that buzzer beater, sucked for them, but I think they're going to pull out the series against Boston and go on a run. So I like Golden State versus Brooklyn with Golden State winning it. Remember that fondly. It was an amazing feeling as a lifelong Chiefs fan. Thanks for helping with that. LOL. Yeah, no problem, man. That was an awesome time. Let's talk about the Chiefs wide receiver room. What do we have there now? We got, we brought in Juju Shoe-Smith. I don't know, Juju, whatever. We brought in, I hope I say this right, MVS. We got Josh Gordon still. We got McCole Hardman, who I think is going to have a breakout year. He had a great year last year. A lot of people are not talking about it. And I guess people are down on him. I don't know why. I see a lot of talk on Twitter about people saying that he's a bust or he hasn't lived up to the expectations. He's been the third guy the entire time. There's not much he can do. He hasn't had much opportunity. So I'm looking forward to, with him having this much opportunity, what he's going to do with it. And I think he's going to do well. I think this room is what it is. It's a solid group of guys. We did lose a once-in-a-lifetime type of guy with Tyreek Hill. But a lot of people are talking about this could make the offense better, just from the standpoint that Patrick's going to have to survey the field more. He's going to spread it out more. Each guy is going to have a different role, and I think it'll make them better. What was your best pancake block ever? Ooh, that's a good question. We were playing Oakland. What year was this? I think this was it. I don't know the exact season, but it was the year where Jamal scored 5 TDs against the Raiders. And we ran a screen, and I was out in the open field, and I got 2 guys on one block. So I pancaked one guy into another. They both went down. Jamal went for about 50 for a touchdown. Do you think we should sign McCole now before he has a breakout year? I think so. But I don't think McCole will. I think where they'll value him right now, he'll be willing to wait. So that's not something that's going to happen. I think they're just going to let the season play out and see what happens. I do think he's going to have a great season. I have it in my heart that, and I know this guy's mentality. He's a worker. He doesn't complain much, really humble. That's one of the things people don't talk about. This guy is super humble, despite all the criticism he gets, the lack of opportunity. This guy's waited his turn. So I'm excited for him. I'm happy that he's getting this opportunity and that they're believing in him. So yesterday, Reed stated the first phase of OTAs would be virtual, and Patrick was having most of the ill players in Texas versus here in KC. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I talked about that earlier, but I think this is an advantage. The reason being is phase 1 and phase 2 of the OTAs there's nothing you can really do. There's so many rules in place by the NFLPA and the league that don't allow guys to really do anything football related. You're going and you're doing, strength and conditioning. You're in the weight room. You go in the classroom. When you're on the field, the coaches aren't there. So it's not really much you can do in the building. And you're only in the building for 4 hours. So there's not much time because of the restrictions. So by them being outside of the building, there's no restrictions. There's no rules. They're doing their own thing. The league isn't involved. So I think they're going to get better, especially with all these new faces. They're going to have more time to work together, and it's only going to bode well for them. I'm rooting for him. He's going to have all the targets in the world. Excited for him too. Yeah, that's in regards to McCole Hardman. Shout out to McCole, man. I'm really a big fan of his. We all know the speed, the acceleration, but I'm looking forward to see him as a receiver, as somebody that they target a little bit more. Which team as a Chief did you hate the most? I hated the Raiders the most. I think that's just natural, just with the rivalry. And not just that, sometimes people talk about rivalries and history makes you rivals. And the Raiders haven't been very good for a minute. Even when I was in the league, they weren't very good. But it's just something about that atmosphere in Oakland at the time, now Vegas, and their fans that make you hate them even more. They just completely ruled their assholes. You see kids double burden you on the bus while you're riding into the stadium. There's just people are throwing beer on you. We never want our families going to the road games when you play the Raiders. So that's just why you hate them. Well, guys, I don't see any more questions. We're going to wrap this thing up. Looking forward to the rest of the offseason. What's next? Who knows? Go Chiefs.